In this video, we're going to take a look at a parallel circuit and compare the differences between a parallel circuit and a series circuit, and of course discuss how the components are related to each other in a parallel circuit. So we're going to take our previous circuit that we built, which is a series circuit with two switches in it, and we're going to modify it a little bit to match the schematic that you see. But just to give you, before you get started, make sure that your power is unplugged, that you don't have any power going to it. You can verify that by looking at the power LED. But then also you're going to need an additional jumper wire. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, let's see, what would be the easiest? Let's just remove the LED. We'll work our way back. Move this jumper from ground. This jumper here, and we'll remove the second switch and then leave the first switch there, and we're going to take this first jumper, and this time we're going to put it in the same row as the first leg of our pin of our switch. Okay, so now in this row we're going to have three items. We're going to have the leg of the resistor in row 5, or in this particular row, and in that same row have the leg of one of your jumpers, and then one of the legs of your switches. Okay, so then the second leg here is going to just make sure that it's not in the same row as the second leg of your switch. So, I got mine going down to 9, and now I'm going to take my second switch, and I'm going to make sure that the first one of the legs of the switch is in the same row as my jumper, which is row 9. So now this leg is in the same row going to the switch here. Okay. Then I'm going to take another jumper and put one leg in the same row here. All right. And this leg is in the same row as the second leg of the switch. And then also let's go ahead and add let's add this jumper wire here. Okay, and if you notice, for this additional jumper wire that we're adding to our circuit, I'm using a little bit longer jumper wire. It's somewhere closer to about 20 millimeters, but this one has to be able to extend from the second leg of the first switch, which that's for me row 7, and it has to come all the way down here to the it's going to have to extend in the same row as our second jumper. All right, and in the same row here, we're also going to take our LED and make sure we have the orientation correct. So I'm going to have the anode, which is the longer leg, going into the same row as these two jumpers here, or the second leg of these two jumpers. All right, and then finally we'll take let's see, my cathode is in row 15, so I'm going to have to take this jumper and one leg in 15, the other leg in the negative channel of the power bus, right? Taking this back to ground. So now let's just look over here at the schematic that we have. And again, we did not change anything with the resistor, so we're coming out of 5 volts into our 220 ohm resistor. But here's where it gets a little tricky. Notice that out of the 220 ohm resistor, we go into the current can go in either direction here. So at this connection point here shows that this leg of this resistor is connected to one of the legs of our first push button, and then also one of the legs of our second push button. So what does that look like over here? If you notice here that in this row, okay, our first push button here is like our coming out of our resistor, it is connected to this first leg over here. But then look at this jumper here. Okay, this jumper is coming all the way down here to row 9. But what else is in row 9? It is the first leg. It's the first leg of our second switch also. So it does match what you see over here on the schematic. And then if we come down here to the second connection point here, this represents the second leg of each push button. Here's our first push button, and then you see our symbol for our second push button. So they're connected together, but they're also connected. At this point, they're also going into the anode of our LED. So let's check that out. The second, on our first switch, coming out of our second leg, it's going to this jumper, and that jumper is coming down here to row 14, which is connected to the anode of the LED. And then over here, coming out of the second leg, of our switch, it's going into, it's in the same row of this jumper. You know, it's going into this jumper here. This jumper is coming down to row 14, which is in the same row as the anode of our LED. And then finally, out of the LED, we're going to go back to ground. So coming out of the LED on the cathode side, back into ground. Okay. So now our circuit matches what's on our schematic, and we're ready to apply power.